Good afternoon. Welcome to the second part of our 2024 November paper, section B. I'm continuing with question 3.2, which is part of the map interpretation. The question reads, the main settlement pattern at area 8, block D1 and E1 on the orthophoto map. So the most important thing that you have to do is whenever you are answering map questions, you have to know the map that you're supposed to use. If you look at this question, it's saying D1 and E1 on the orthophoto map. So when you look at your map that you have got this is your topographical map, and you also have this is your orthophoto map, which means this is the map that we are going to use. Okay, let's go to the question. It reads the main pattern, settlement pattern at area 8. This is where you've got your area 8. This is where you've got your area 8 here on the orthophoto map. You can see this is where you've got your area 8. And block D1 and E1 on the orthophoto map is, okay, this is your area 8. This is your area 8, as you can see here. So obviously when we talk about the settlement patterns, we are going to check whether it's dispersed or it's nucleated. Say that's what we are going to. When it comes to settlement pattern, obviously we check at the whether it's nucleated or dispersed. We are looking at it in terms of the closeness of the buildings. Are they spaced out or they are very close to each other? Okay, so as you can see from the option that is given, the main settlement pattern on 8 in D1 and E1, you can see that these buildings are very close to each other, which means the answer there is nucleated, which is B. Then we move on to the next one. Refer to Woodland Hills settlement in block B2 on the topographical map. This is our topographical map. So what is important now is you have to know the map that you are supposed to use. Once you make a mistake of using an orthophoto, we are supposed to using a topographical map, then obviously you are going to get the wrong answer. So the question reads, refer to Woodland Hills settlement in block B2 on the topographical map. Question, what evidence suggests that the suburb is still undergoing construction? So you got your B2. Okay, Omen marks 2 by 1. You got your B2. This is your B2 here. That's where your B2 is. So what evidence is there that suggests that the suburb is still undergoing development? You can see here it's written roads under construction. You can see it's written what? Road under construction. Road under construction. You can see it's written, it's on the map, B2, road under construction. So that's one piece of evidence that tells us that the suburb is still undergoing development. Then the other thing you can also talk about is you've got the vacant plots. If you can see the vacant plots around this area, they are open, okay, the vacant spots, okay. You can also talk about the construction moving away from the original settlement. You also have incomplete roads. On this B2, which is part of our Woodlands Hills. So that answers question 3.2.A. Then question B, it reads, explain the negative impact that this development could have on farming in the area. What could be the negative impact on farming in the area? If you check on B2, you can see cultivated land here. Okay, you can see there's cultivated land. So what are some of the negative impacts? Okay, on this development could have farming in the area? There is expansion that is taking place. Obviously, there's bound to be more land that is needed to build settlements. So we are saying now, what negative impact that this development would have on the farming in the area? So if you look at here, we have got your cultivated land. Okay, what would be the net back? You can talk about urban expansion could reduce the size of the farms, which means the moment we build, we are going to take part of the area that is used for farming, which means it's going to end up reducing the size of the farms. So the urban expansion that is taking place is going to end up reducing the size of this farm where we have got the cultivated land. What else could be another negative? Construction will create pollution. Obviously, when we are constructing, we are building, we are using heavy machinery. It can be in terms of noise pollution. That's what we are talking about. There can also be increase in traffic congestion around the farms. Obviously, there's movement of vehicles, so it means there's likely to be increase in traffic congestion around farms. You can also Construction will silt up dams. Construction will silt up dams, which means the sand is going to be carried to the rivers, then also the river carrying the sand to the dams as well, result in siltation. So the construction will actually silt up dams. There's likely to be increased flooding. Because obviously by having those concrete surfaces, it means that the rate of infiltration is reduced. So there's going to be more surface runoff. There's going to be more water, okay, on the earth surface flowing. That is our surface runoff, which results in more flooding. There's likely to be decrease in fertile soil for farming. We can talk about water scarcity for farms because the land is being taken. That could have been used maybe to construct more dams. There can also be increasing land prices. That's another thing that can also happen. Okay, those are some of the things that you can actually talk about that will be the negative impacts of expansion. Negative impact on this development could have on farming in the area. Then moving on to 3.2.3, refer to the residential area 9 on the orthophoto map. Remember, I emphasize that it's important that you know which map are you going to use. This is the area 9 on the orthophoto map. As you can see, that is in C4. This is area 9. Okay, we've got a 9 in C4. What are they saying? In blocks B4 and C4 on the orthophoto map. Number 3.2.3, how did the topography influence the development of the gridiron street pattern evident on this residential area? How did the topography influence the development of gridiron street pattern evident in this settlement area? 3.2.3, how did them, okay? How did the 3.2.3, that's where we are, how did the topography influence the development of gridiron street pattern evident in this residential area? 3.3, we are going to look at, okay, it's easier to lay out, land is flat, and you can also see that gently sloping. We are looking at B4 here, okay? We are looking at here, that is B4 and C4, B4 and C4. You can see in terms of the contours that are there, you can see they are spaced out. That's why we are saying that land is flat or gently sloping. That's part of the topography. We're looking at the steepness or the gentleness. How does it help? So we are saying that the land is flat. How do you find out that? Because we are looking at how the contours are aligned. It shows that it is flat. So it's gently sloping, it's flat. It is also easy to lay out. That is the answer for that. Then B, explain one economic advantage that residents in the residential area 9 will experience as a result of the location. This is area 9, okay? So what are the economic advantage that residents in the residential area 9 will experience as a result of the location? We are now looking at B. There can be shorter distance to shopping center, okay? Shorter distance to shopping center. The close proximity to roads for accessibility. They're very close to the roads for accessibility. Rental land will also be cheaper. Those are some of the things that you can actually consider in as far as the economic advantages are concerned. Remember, you're supposed to write only one. So you've got one, shorter distance to shopping center, close proximity to roads for accessibility, rental and land will be cheaper. Then 3.2.4, refer to blocks A2, A1, A2, and B1, B2 on the topographical map, which means we are now going to use our topographical map. Okay, A1, A2, all right, that is here. Okay, B1, B2, that is also the area there. Okay, identify the primary activity practiced in block A1, A2. A1, A2, you can see here is green. This is your polygon. You come here, where's your green? It shows you that it's a cultivated land. So there's agriculture that is taking place there. There's farming, there's cultivation that is taking place there in A1, A2. You can see here. How did we find out that? We used our reference, which is your key. You can see here it shows cultivated land, which means there's farming that is taking place. It's agriculture. Then B, why is the primary activity in answer question 3.2.1 practice on a large scale? Okay, why is it practice on a large scale? On this you can see the area that is covered by the cultivated land, which means it's covering a big land, okay, large land, okay, that is large scale, done on a large scale. The number one, you can see, let's look at the drainage system. You can see that there's water supply, availability of large tracts of land. You can see what else is accessibility to the market. You can see that's something they're talking about. It's close to the transport networks. You look at the roads that are around. You can also talk about the slope is gentle, it's flat. You can see the contours, they are spaced out. Fertile soil is arable land. What else? There is availability of storage. Okay, the silos. Okay, these are some of the reason why it is practiced on a large scale. So we have talked about number one, the water supply, availability of large tracts of land, access to market, close to transport networks. You can talk about the slope is gentle, the fertile soil, among other reasons. So that's how you answer question 3.2.4. 3.2.4b. Then number C, it reads, identify two strategies that were put in place in blocks A1 and A2 to ensure a regular water supply for the primary activity. Okay, identify two strategies that were put in place in block A1 and 2 to ensure water supply for the primary activity. So this is the area A1, A2. What do we have? We have got the dams. You can see dams are there. We have got the furrows. You can see we have got the furrows there. What else do we have? We have got the reservoirs. We have got the wind pump again. Okay, so the question says identify two strategies that were put in place in blocks A1 and A2, B1, B2 to ensure water supply. This is an area where agriculture is taking place. What has been put in place to ensure that there's water supply? There is a reservoir, you can see here. What else? There is a dam. There are furrows, as you can see here. What else here? There is also a wind pump. So those are the strategies that has been put in place to make sure that there is a regular supply of water in this place. So this takes us to the end of map interpretation, like I've already promised. So it's very easy to interpret the map, but the only thing that you are supposed to do when you are doing map interpretation is to make sure that you use the right map. When you are asked to use the orthophoto map, make sure you use the orthophoto. When the question asks you to use the topographical map, make sure you answer in relation to that specific map that you have been asked to use. Thank you.